Hello. We have with us today Tom and Val Harbour. They're from BC, and they were here in Quebec a couple of years ago taking the Fit for M program. Hi, Tom and Val.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes. Uh, Tell us a bit about where you're in ministry right now and what do you do, different roles you might have.
So right now we are in West Kelowna. We're both volunteer pastors at our church, and we both have jobs in the community as well.
So basically, what we're looking at is as connections pastors, which is what our title is. We connect with some of our more practical needs like grief share and divorce care, new believers as they come to faith. We are the ones who probably will connect with them first. And we are also looking at how we can promote Francophone ministry in the Okanagan Valley.
Great. And right now, you serve full time as in the school commission. Tell us what your responsibilities are there.
So I am a school counselor at the only high school on the west side of Kelowna. So we have, with staff and students, about 1,700 people here. So my bubble is pretty big. But I am the counselor for mental health support career, more so academic support for every student with the last name from A to G. So for about 550 kids.
Wow. And you, Val?
I'm a private counselor in the community, so in both West Kelowna and Kelowna. And so I do a lot of couples counseling and individual counseling as well.
Wow. So listen, you're a young couple at heart, but just a bit older. I can tell by the gray and the color of Tom's beard. Uh, you know, you guys came here. Tell me a bit about your story. How did you end up taking the Fit for M program?
Go ahead, Val.
Well, we first came to Montreal way back in 2002 and for our 10th anniversary, and we just fell in love with the province and just wanted to come back. And at that point, we were driving around one time, and Tom and I were chatting. And it's like, it'd be so awesome if we could just like meet the people and kind of learn more about the culture. And so that was kind of that first spark for us.
Mm-hmm. And then when we got back to West Kelowna, it was literally about 3 weeks after that Gary, you and our at the time lead pastor, Derek Hamry, had created the first partnership between BC and Quebec churches. And that led to us 5 years later going and spending a summer with the partner church in Victoriaville. We took our kids and we helped and just sort of breathed in the culture for the summer of 2007.
And then what happened?
And then we weren't sure if that was it, if we were done. But then we realized in retrospect that we both went back to school after that as well. So we were busy for a few years. But then in, I believe it was 2016, Tom?
Yeah.
2016, yeah. Tom went back to Montreal for the general conference.
Mm-hmm. And that's when I found that the Fit for M program had been rebooted. And I am old enough that I remember Flight, and when Flight closed. So when I saw it was there again, it was all of a sudden like maybe this is a thing. Maybe we're not done. And like Val said, we had been in Quebec in 2007. In 2008, I started my schooling. In 2015, Val finished her schooling, and now it was 2016. So we started thinking about what does this look like, had conversations at our church level about the potential of what does expansion look like. And we had floated the idea of Francophone ministry and possibly Fit for M. But the hang up for us was because we're both in careers, I couldn't retire at that point. I was only a mere 50-ish when that happened. And then coincidentally, there's this guy named Gary Connors who was at our district conference the following spring.
Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of kept on like pushing on the door, and God kept on opening the doors, and and we just kept on moving on through it, and everything kind of moved forward for us to come to Montreal.
And you ended up in Montreal. So tell us a bit about the experience of that 1 year. And you were put on a pastoral team with a good French church in downtown Montreal University. Tell us a bit about that 1 year experience.
Okay, so it was on one level very humbling because it is in French, and our French, for sure, at the beginning was very limited. It was moderately, hopefully, significantly better by the end, but by that time we were already in lockdown, so it had changed up that process. So we were working with the kids because I think they figured that that was the level of proficiency that we had.
And like the year in itself was absolutely amazing. Like just we went to university in downtown Montreal, and we thought that we would be in a class with all of the other Canadians who wanted to learn French, and realized that there's not a lot of English Canadians who want to learn French. And so we were in these classes with a lot of immigrants, and just even that whole excuse me, multicultural experience was amazing, and it's something that we don't get here as well.
Yeah, like it was certainly multicultural at school, and to the point that even today we still meet regularly with a couple that we connected with in university, and they asked us to help them with their English, which was respectively for her fifth language, and for him his fourth language. And we still get together every week and hang out by Zoom. But also in the church, like I think there's something like 30 plus languages in the church. We live in a smaller town, the language is English, in our church. And then it was one of dozens of languages in our very downtown urban church, with expat African pastors, a Haitian community, a significant Spanish community. So there was a lot of culture that, while we could have gone to university here and learned French, we would not have captured the culture like we did by actually being right there in Montreal.
So Tom and Val, what I find interesting with you guys specifically is that a lot of people will come here, take the program, but thinking to staying in the province. But from day one, you had in your heart, coupled with your home church in Kelowna, and also the district, the BC district, is that you'd be going back to Kelowna in order to sort of like do a startup, see how you could start a community, in something in the French community, to reach out. So tell us a bit about that now that you're back, and even your connection with the Gospel V.
For sure.
So since we've been back, we've been continuing our French classes at the French Cultural Center here in Kelowna, and with the idea that we just want to get involved there and build relationships and just help them to know just how much God loves them and God cares about them. And so just COVID has been a little bit of a not part on that part, but we're doing the classes still, so we're starting to make those connections. And yeah.
You need to mention the phone call you had just before this Zoom though, Val.
Yeah, I just had a call about our class that's just starting, and just being able to, I asked about being able to get involved, and they're putting us on a list so that we can start volunteering when things start opening up again. And so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we have found that with that year that we had in Montreal, we started to get a sense of the cultural value or lack of value of the church, and the historical coercion, perhaps, or church means like, being in a position of power and making people comply. So we need to connect with the Francophones here, and first of all, show that we're not weirdos when we are engaging with them, and then from there build relationships, so that when we start introducing the ideas of Christ and relationship, that we're not, they already know who we are, they already have a trust in us, so that it's become a much slower process in the realization that there is a lot of, I won't say fear, but certainly concern and suspicion when it comes to matters of the church.
When people think about ministry to French people, we tend to think about Montreal and the province of Quebec. But across Canada, we know there are pockets of French populations, and I really think it's great that you guys, have done this step. It's quite a risky thing, at your age too, and coming back, and the Lord allowed you to have a 1 year off from your positions, and fantastic. It was great having you here. Now, just as we probably end that conversation, would you have anything to say to people who were thinking of making that step of going into ministry? And so what would you say to someone who is considering French ministry?
I'd say that definitely learning the language in Quebec is really important. And to be able,
there's French or English ministry, that's for sure.
Yeah, and because we heard so many different times, like when we were there, like, wow, like you're here to learn French and you're Canadian, like that just doesn't happen. And so there was that, almost that respect just for that as well.
That effort was being made. For me, I think that what encapsulates the importance of coming, and I would say, if you have that in your heart, go, like absolutely go. When we moved out, and we were there for almost a year, when we moved out, we were missing home. We were missing people at home. But when it came to us leaving Montreal, so many people when we got back were like, oh, welcome home. And yes, we were back in BC, we were home. But at the same time, the sense that I had, that we had, is that we left home, our new home, and our new relationships to come home where we have other relationships. So in that sense, we have basically sentenced ourselves to a life of dissatisfaction in that wherever we are, yes, that's home, but we also have this whole other home that we are missing, that we're not there. We do, one thing we didn't mention earlier is we have started re-engaging with a small group that we started while we were at Église Gospel Vie. And so every other Friday night, we are connecting online through Zoom and meeting with people there too. So those relationships continue. And certainly the hope is, as we continue with our hopes here in Kelowna, that maybe these even get integrated, but we don't know what that looks like yet. We have no clear view of what that is, but it's exciting to think about the possibilities.
Tom and Val, thanks today for just sharing with us. We could talk all day. Now, I don't know if you're open to have people just go to your blog or not. I don't know if it's more private, but what would you think? Or if they wanted to go and read your blog, would that be a good idea or not? For
sure. Yeah, we haven't updated it since we got back, but if you want to look at our thoughts and the sense of what we were learning as we went along, absolutely, it's blog Québécois at .weebly.com if you want to check it out. And if you have other questions, you could either email Tom at emmanuelchurch.life or Val at emmanuelchurch.life.
So, and I'll have Roxanne maybe put those in the end of the video as well. Hey guys, c'était excellent de vous avoir avec nous sur cette vidéo aujourd'hui. Que le Seigneur vous bénisse abondamment et à la prochaine.
Merci, merci, mon frère.